Hi, my name is Jessica Lamb, and I'll be interpreting this video.
Student text number 2. The vignette on this tape is of a client-attorney interview conducted prior to a scheduled court appearance. A deaf man has been charged with driving while intoxicated, driving while license is suspended, and driving a motor vehicle with an expired tag. He is a repeated offender, and this current charge is a violation of his probation requirements. The attorney, a female who has been court-appointed to represent the deaf defendant, will interview her client to get the details of the incident and to prepare him for what will happen during the scheduled court appearance. The speakers will now provide you with their introductory comments.
Hi, my name is Philip Wells. I'm from Eastern North Carolina School for the Deaf, graduating in 1970. I got a job in Charlotte, North Carolina as a shipping clerk. I divorced my first wife and married again to my second wife. I have one boy with my first wife. I came to see this attorney. I wanted to ask her about this particular DUI event. I know my license is suspended at this time. This is not the first time, this is the second time that the cops pulled me over for drunk driving with no license. And I came to see what to do about this and get some advice.
My name is Jean Lawson. I'm a lawyer practicing here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And for the past 15 years, my practice has been basically in criminal law. I represent people who are charged with traffic offenses and other criminal offenses. Sometimes I do it as a private attorney, and other times I represent people who are unable to pay the full cost of an attorney. Today I'm representing Mr. Philip Wells, who has been assigned to me through the court system. I represent him as a public defender. He is charged with a second offense, driving while impaired, and driving while his license is revoked. These are serious offenses in North Carolina and could carry prison terms, so it's very important that we discuss his cases thoroughly. Mr. Wells, these warrants show that you were arrested for driving while impaired and also for driving while your license is revoked. And I want to hear what happened, but before that, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your background, please?
I'm from Eastern North Carolina School for the Deaf.
Did you graduate?
Graduated in 1970.
And do you have any education beyond that?
No.
Okay. What kind of work do you do?
I work for Nelson Shipping Company as a clerk.
How long have you been there?
I've been working there for 5 years.
Do you have any good friends or supervisors who might be willing to come to court and speak up for you if it came to that?
Maybe you could contact my supervisor, Larry.
Okay. Do you know his last name?
Northey.
Okay. Does he know about the trouble you had?
No.
Okay. Would it cause a problem if you told him about the fact that you got these charges and had previously had a DUI?
It's possible. I think he would support me a little bit, though.
Good. What? Tell me about your family.
I'm currently married to my second wife. I have one boy named Matthew from my first wife, who I divorced.
How old is he?
He's 8.
Does he live with you?
He lives with his mother, my first wife.
Okay. And do you support him?
Yes, I do support him with child support payments. They are garnishments from my paycheck through the court system.
I'm sorry to ask you all these personal questions, but I never know when I might find something that would help.
That's fine. It's not a problem.
Okay. Now, you're currently married to your second wife, is that right?
Correct.
And how long have you been married to her?
3 years.
Does she know about this charge?
Yes, because she picked me up and brought me home from jail.
How is she reacting to the fact that you were charged with this offense?
She was upset.
Okay. Is she
Mad.
okay. Is she upset because you're in trouble, or is she concerned about the drinking, or both?
Both, because of the increased penalties for a second offense and the drinking.
Okay. How long have you been drinking heavily enough to get in this kind of trouble?
I've been drinking for probably about 10 years.
Okay. So that would be since you were about 31, is that right?
Yeah. 31. I'm now 41, so that's 10 years.
Right, that's what the warrant says. But why don't you tell me what happened on this evening?
Interpreter, do you mean the first or second offense?
The offense we're talking about is the one that you have to go to court on next month, this second offense. And then we'll go back and talk about the first offense.
Okay. I came to see you about this because I'm scared that I might end up in prison or with the license suspended again. This second offense carries a heavier penalty, and this is the second time I've been caught drinking and driving, plus my license was suspended. I came to see you to see what you could do for me. I don't want to go to prison or something like that.
Well, that's what I want to do, is to try to help you, to figure out a way, first of all, if we can, to get you out of this. And if we can't get you out of it, we can't avoid a conviction on the charges, then to minimize the impact on you. And I can tell you now that one of the ways to do that is going to be to get treatment for your alcohol problems and for any other problems that led to your drinking and to your continuing to drink. And it would be my goal to try to make sure that you don't get some kind of long sentence of imprisonment. Have you ever been convicted of anything else?
Yes, I had a prior DUI. They tried to put me through therapy, but I refused. I felt that I didn't have a problem with drinking at the time. And they asked me to go to treatment, but I refused. Now, maybe if I go, will it help reduce my penalty?
Well, it depends on how good you are about going into treatment. If you go into it with sincerity, then the people who are doing the treatment will come to court and say, Philip Wells came to us and is working on his problem, and we think he's a good risk to be out on the streets. And the whole object is to convince a judge that you shouldn't be locked up and that you're not a danger to the community. That's the only reason that a judge would put you in jail, is if you're a danger to the community or if you continue doing what you have been. So if the facts that you tell me about lead me to conclude that you're either going to get convicted or have to plead guilty to driving while impaired, then I'm going to recommend that you do everything you can to convince the judge that you shouldn't be locked up. And there are some things you can do, like going into treatment. Unfortunately, some people go into treatment and they just do it so that they can keep driving or for reasons other than sincerely trying to work on their alcohol problem. And that generally gets reported back to the judge, and it will hurt you rather than help you.
Okay.
Okay. So what we need to do first is talk about what happened that night. Because one of the first issues is whether the police officer had probable cause to stop you. Police can't just stop anybody driving down the street and get them out of their car and smell their breath. They have to see something that gives them probable cause to believe that something illegal has happened. Tell me about what you drank that night and what you heard the policeman say and what you think you did that gave him cause to stop you. Did he tell you why he stopped you?
Okay. I went to the bar, hung out and had some drinks. While driving home, a police car tailed me and apparently honked, but I didn't hear it. I didn't notice him. Eventually, he turned on his lights and pulled me over. After stopping me, he came to the window and gestured that I was weaving while driving. I can't remember weaving, so I don't really know. He said weaving was the reason for pulling me over. He asked for my license. I actually gave him a debit card, a check card, not my license, because it was suspended at the time from my first DWI. That was the first time I was caught driving with my blood level over 0.19, the limit. I learned that over 0.19 leads to license suspension, and now I'm caught again. I already am not allowed to drive. It was hard for me to find deaf people, who are willing to come and give me a ride. That got frustrating. Eventually, I just gave up and drove anyway and tried to avoid getting caught, but it happened anyway.
When you first met him and had a chance to talk to him? Or did he tell it to you later down at the law enforcement center?
While I was pulled over, the police gestured that I was weaving.
Okay. Did you feel like you had been weaving or driving improperly?
No, actually.
Okay. Did the officer give you any field sobriety tests, the ones where he makes you touch your nose and walk in a straight line?
Yes, he asked me to follow a pin with my eyes. I didn't really remember if I followed it well or not, though.
Did he tell you how he thought you did on that test?
No.
Did you sense that you did well or poorly on the test?
I felt I followed it okay. Sort of.
Did anybody at any time give you any of the other tests, like walking a straight line or walking toe to toe or touching your nose?
No.
Okay. Did you notice were there any other police officers pulled up out there when the first officer stopped you?
No. Only one police officer pulled me over.
When did you first learn that he knew you didn't have a driver's license?
When he took the card, I gave him back to his car and found my record on his computer showing I had no registration. At that point, he brought me to the police station and found out there I had no license.
Okay. Where had you been drinking that night, and do you remember what you had to drink?
All American bar.
Okay. And when did you get there? Do you remember?
8 o'clock.
Okay. And when did you leave? Right before this happened?
I would say 12 o'clock.
Okay. Tell me what you drank, if you remember.
I don't know.
Do you remember what you were drinking?
No.
Is there a particular thing that you normally drink when you drink?
My usual rum.
Okay. But you have no idea how much you had in it?
No.
Okay. Were there other people there with you drinking who might be able to tell us how much you had?
Yes, some deaf friends I go out with were drinking with me.
What's his name?
Bobby and Gary.
Gary, so that's two people.
Bobby and Gary and I.
Okay. When you got down to the law enforcement center, what happened?
At the station, they asked me to take a breathalyzer test. I refused. I kept telling them that I hadn't drank that much, that I was fine. It wasn't that bad. I actually would not take the test. I started to get frustrated and upset, so they placed me in a holding cell for a few minutes to calm me down. Once I cooled off, they came back in with an interpreter and asked me to take the breathalyzer again. At that point, with the interpreter, I was more cooperative and took the test, which showed 0.19.
Okay. Do you have any idea how much time elapsed between when you arrived at the law enforcement center and when you took the breathalyzer?
Maybe 10 minutes?
Okay. The police report shows that you blew .19 twice within 5 minutes of each other, and that's within an hour after your arrest. So it looks like your blood alcohol content was probably higher than .19 at the time you were stopped. Did the police tell you prior to the arrival of the interpreter that you were entitled to have a neutral, independent witness for the breathalyzer test?
No, they just called an interpreter.
Okay. Did you know whether the interpreter worked for the police or was an independent interpreter?
The police just called an interpreter.
Okay. And did the interpreter tell you that you were entitled to an independent witness or a member of your family to come down and see the test?
No, I don't know. Not to my knowledge.
Okay, well, that may be something we can work with. Because there are some requirements about informing you of which witnesses can be present if they can get to the breathalyzer room quickly enough to witness the breathalyzer test. We may have some trouble because they have to put you in a holding cell for a while, but it would be worth looking at whatever records they have down at the jail and talking to the deputies who saw what happened, and we may be able to use that to block admission of the breathalyzer result.
Oh. You think you can do that?
I don't know. There are two problems. First, you can be convicted of driving while impaired without the results of the breathalyzer if the judge believes beyond a reasonable doubt that you were impaired based on the testimony of people who saw you. And it may be enough if the police officer testifies that he saw you driving erratically, and that you were fumbling, and you had a strong odor of alcohol about you, and any other observations he made of you either out on the road or down at the law enforcement center. So that even if we're able to keep the breathalyzer reading out of evidence, you still could be convicted. So one of the things that would be helpful to do is talk to the police officer and find out what he's going to say. And I'll do a little research on that before we make any decisions. But it's possible that we can at least keep the breathalyzer out. And of course, with your prior conviction, that would be worth it. The other part of that is that if we're able to convince the district attorney that he's not on firm ground with this case because the breathalyzer may not be admissible, the district attorney may offer to let you plead guilty to some lesser offense. Do you have any questions about that?
No, I just really hope you can help me get back to driving again. I need to be able to get to work and support my family. Maybe they can set up something where a driver comes and takes me back and forth, at least for work. It's hard enough being deaf and trying to find people willing to give me rides. It's not easy. People have conflicts. I can't keep driving without a license. But I absolutely need to get to work.
Do you think that you plan